You're listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS Fantasy game.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome back to the start of this. And Christian's here right at the beginning. See, I didn't think. I waited. I was like, nah, we'll get started. It'll be fine. And then here he is. Not even a... Oh, that didn't help at all.
I'm exactly 5 minutes late. That's what I said.
That's true. That's true. You showed up exactly when you said you would, and that is excellent. Let me...
Good job, buddy.
Get the... Let's see here.
Oh, God.
Get the... Yep. No. You are confirmed. Why are you not? I had it working. Okay. And now it's not. Oh, man. Oh, there we go.
Oops.
Everyone's all moved around. Okay. Sorry, I was my plan was I was going to open up and just have me and Matt just right here ready to go, and then as soon as Christian came, I was going to switch over to the three person layout, and then the 3-person layout messed up. So let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now it looks kind of nice.
Am I Ashley, though?
No, you're Christian. It totally says
I end up
Christian
being Ashley half the time.
and all that. No, it's working right now. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Let me take a quick second and get the social out. We'll have an update about social momentarily, so give me just a minute to get that going. So, starting out just as you all would expect, but of course, I don't worry, I'm not going to forget. I was just waiting to get the social out because I know what it is that you all have come for.
Recording in progress.
There it is. Right there. The recording in progress for all of you. Gene was the first one to call it out, so no worries. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for Jake, Chandy, Arglass, Gene, Kingdom, Sour Haze. Good to see you all. Thanks so much for joining us. So the information is out on social. Please be so kind and share that, like it, all those good things. It helps the algorithm with all of that. It does help people to find out about our fantasy project here. It's on Discord, so if you're just going to be joining us in a second from there, hope you are going to enjoy this welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider. This is our weekly stream that we have about MLS Fantasy, the official MLS Fantasy game. If subscribe, hit the bell notification here on YouTube. It's one of the easiest ways to catch us if you want to catch live and be able to ask your questions. We're also, though, going to be on a podcast. Usually I upload to SoundCloud next day or so. So if you can't catch the live, it is all good. But so happy to have you all being here. All right. The recording is started. The stream is going. The social is out. Ashley can't make it because she's getting her schedule reworked to be able to make podcasts again, but that's fine. We got Matt and Christian here, so we will get things started right now. Oh, how's my volume? I guess that's the first time asking this year. Volume's good. Looks good on the equal audio mixer right there. So, okay, we're just going to go with good. Where's Ron to help us out?
Hey, before you start, I'm going to turn this. I'm going to go without the podcast chat today.
Okay, you can go with that. All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preseason preview of the 2025 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by... Wait, the game is live? Oh, wait, faked out. No, yes. No, actually, Brought to you by the amazing MLS Fantasy Insider Patreons. It's because of you that we are able to keep this project going. We're going to have some updates soon over at Patreon, so if you want to keep tabs on that, head over to patreon.com/MLSFI. All the support goes to help keeping the lights on here and funding the prizes that we give out for the season, which this year, I apologize, I have been much more like MLS in getting out the prizes than I have in the past, so I apologize, but we'll make sure that gets out soon. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partners in fantasy, Matt Wojo and Christian Ward. How are you all doing tonight?
Great. How are you?
Doing well.
I'm good.
You're looking extra beardy tonight,
Yes,
Reid.
yes. If you're listening to the stream, you can check it out. I've got a month and a half beard going on right now. That's probably going to be gone by the next episode. So just trying something new.
So you're keeping it until Lucho makes a decision, right? Is that it?
Yeah. It was like, I'll grow this and see if it makes a difference, and it didn't. So it's just gotta go. Ashley can't be with us tonight. She is reworking her schedule to be able to join us on the regular, so it's all good. We've got notes. We've got lots of good things. Gonna jump right into what we have for the show tonight. If you didn't see some of the previews online, it's good. We're starting out with just a preview of what we know so far about the fantasy game, some general updates to MLS Fantasy Boss and our projects here, and then some of that juicy news, some early players that we're interested in, and just some bits of information that I think is important, particularly that Christian's picked up to share with everyone as we're getting into the first round to start getting our teams ready. So we're going to start, if you have not seen yet, and I noticed a couple people in chat hadn't seen this yet, so this could be breaking news for a lot of people, but we have a new landing screen. It is now Fantasy 2025 officially over at fantasy.mlssoccer.com. So the landing page is upgraded. It's green, it's fun, but what does that mean? So we're going to have Skylar on the show soon to be able to talk to you about that, but we've got a few little previews here from the conversations that I've had with Skylar so far, just to kind of give us some insight of what's going on. Right now, not a lot of changes is what we're hearing. So unless there's some big changes that come out once the game officially goes live, at this point, we're expecting the game to be pretty similar to what it was in 2024, at least as far as the scoring and some of the systems go right there. Maybe we'll get the aerial duels loaded in. Maybe some of that stuff is going to be tweaked. That wasn't able to happen at the beginning of the season, but at this time, we're expecting things to be pretty consistent with what it was last year. But let's go over just what we see right on the splash screen. And guys, feel free to jump in at any point. Win a jersey a week. We had that last year, talking about $2,000 in grand prizes, and then plus the top 50 taking home prizes as well. So pretty similar to what we've seen in the past. Nice little prize support from some of the people there, some fun little graphics. The 2025 game features, though. Apple TV, yes, we know. Jump in at any time. That's the great part about our game. If you're starting with MLS for the first time, it is a week-to-week game, not daily. Week-to-week points do add up. There are definitely milestones you can push for throughout the entire season, but you can jump in after the beginning of the year and still be able to play and be competitive for anything. The first difference that I see, I don't know if anybody else, if you guys noticed this, Fantasy Champions League. FCL is back with 3 qualifying rounds and the final tournament of the championship. Seems like we have 1 round less than we did last year. There were the 4 quarters last year. This time we're seeing a preview about 3 qualifying rounds. So I don't know if these are going to be larger chunks of the year, if that's a typo or what, but it looks like there's going to be 1 fewer opportunity. Maybe more people will make it in because it's always been top 250 in each quarter, and then it's gone on from there. So there could be a new setup to the Fantasy Champions League that's coming. Not a huge day. I don't know. Do you guys feel like that's a big change? I think that's just kind of a different flavor of what the FCL is.
Yeah, without knowing more info, like you said, it could be a bigger chunk of people being let in each time. I do think it could be a little more challenging if there's the same number of people or less people, and there's 1 fewer window to be able to get in. that could make it more challenging. And I'm not sure how that would help them with everybody jump in at certain times during the year. But I am curious to see how that plays out. I don't think it's a significant change, but it is. It could have some ramifications throughout the season.
And if you haven't played before, the Fantasy Champions League was nice because it was essentially a game-wide league that everyone was put into at the beginning of each quarter. The last few years that we've had it, and it tracked your points during that chunk of the game. And so it wasn't looking at the overall. It was just what you scored during that bit. The top 25 people were added into a final. I guess sorry, it wasn't top 25. It was top 50. Top 50 were added into the final 200-player brawl at the end of the season. But it was just that bit. So you could. That was part of those milestones I mentioned. You could join at the beginning of the second quarter of the Fantasy Champions League qualifiers, and just from that point going forward, you would be building up points if that was your goal. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add, Christian?
Not really.
Nope.
I don't really get into the FCL just because I think they added it so that people who were newer had a chance to win something.
Yeah.
It's a good addition. It never really interested me. So
Yeah, it's all fun.
doesn't matter. I mean, I would always qualify, but then I would never pay attention to it.
Mr. Braggadocious here. Yeah.
No. No, but see, the thing is, you're going to play. So here's the problem I have with FCL. You're going to play differently than what you would normally do if you've qualified or if you're on the cusp of qualifying. Like when we get into the end weeks there where you've made Fantasy Champions League and we're duking it out for the prizes, right? The last few weeks of the season. I don't want to change my game for that.
It just depends. No, I get it. Totally get it. Depends on what you're going for.
But it is very cool to see some of the, like, for example, whenever the finals come around, and you have some teams that are maybe hotter towards the end of the year. Maybe those managers are on a roll making picks. Maybe they're just feeling the form of players. Maybe their data is better towards the end of the season. And you start to see really like those bits of form that those managers have, and the scores they're racking up. And so it is cool. Like maybe if they started slow, they do have a chance to win something because they hit form at a good time,
Absolutely. There's nothing negative about it. I'm just saying.
So it's cool to see.
I never got into
names at the top of those lists as compared to like the top 25 list or something like that of the overall. So it's interesting.
It's always fun. So going on to the next little set right there, 9 double game weeks this season. We all love double game weeks, so they've already got that planned out for the 9. Be interesting to see how many of them are quality double game weeks and how many are just meh kind of weeks right there. One that I'm most interested in, and again, not sure if this is a holdover from last year that just didn't get changed or if it's actually substantive. More stats, better lineups. And so the little bit there, projected scores and more data in the stat center will give you more to work with week to week. So we already had projected scores. It's kind of garbage, honestly. If you're new, don't worry about the projected scores in the MLS game. But if there is more data, that was one of the main pieces of feedback and hopes that we had in our recap episode last year, because I think all of us agree that, and we don't know if this is what it is, but if you're able to score and earn a point doing it in the game, you should be able to have a stat for it, be able to filter by it, something like that. We've always wanted to get more stats than we actually had in the game, and so this is very intriguing to me. If this is actually an expansion of the stats, or if this is just sort of a holdover, little nothing blip.
You're talking about the filters, right?
I'm talking about the filters, and if they've actually added more stats to the filters. I would at least want the filters to be able to be games years in the past. That was the case. Every point earning category you could filter by in the game. And so not all of them
and sort by.
Correct. Not all of them are worthwhile necessarily, but some are valuable that we no longer have. That would be easier than just what'd you score last week, what's your 3-game average, what that kind of thing. So if that's true, I'm excited about that, to see what kinds of changes they may have given us to sorting for our week-to-week moves. Then finally, Classic and Head-to-Head League. Still have those. I know people have talked about having some sort of draft system. Don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. Focusing all on this game right here, but all that's coming back. We will, of course, have our head-to-head leagues, our Pro Rel League, and everything is coming back for 2025. We'll have more information about that once the game actually opens up for real. The last bit, you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the landing screen for this little bit, and it's probably the most important update to what we know about the game that I've buried a little bit into the show here. That last link, follow for X, follow at MLS Fantasy. Right next to it says, or right above it says, keep your squad competitive, up to date with roster tips from our league experts. That's the part we got to talk about. If you do not follow DraftKicks on Twitter X, if you are not familiar with Skylar and his content, he has for years done the positional rankings at MLS Soccer and a few other things in the past. If you saw his update, he is no longer doing that for MLS Soccer. As of when he posted, which was maybe a month ago, at least several weeks at least, there is no plan to have a regular fantasy article. That is our understanding from MLSsoccer.com. So I don't know what that update is at the bottom. I don't know if they've changed their mind or if that is just leftover filler from last year. But that is the most important takeaway that we are aware of is we do not expect at this point for there to be league support for even the player positional rankings from MLSsoccer.com on their site. Now, I did talk with Skylar to see if there was anything else that he could share with us about the game. There wasn't really anything at this time. He did say that there are some newer faces in at MLS Soccer HQ. We've seen some people leave. We've heard about all that kind of stuff going on in the media about some changes up there at MLS and things shaking up. And he says that there are some newer faces in MLS HQ who seem to be inclined to grow the game. Obviously, guys, that's not going to happen overnight. That's encouraging to hear that people have interest in doing that. It seems like a step backwards out the door. So you're like tripping over just the sidewalk right there off your front porch to get rid of your only column about fantasy on your website and then say you want to grow the game. So I don't know what that means. I hope that we find out more. But Skylar is optimistic and does say that there are some people who have an interest in the game. And so it could be that this is a year for those people to get to know the community, get to know the product, and we'll see. So don't worry, though, because we will be filling that gap for fantasy content as we always have. And we'll get to that in just a second. But Matt, Christian, anything else you guys want to add about any rumors you've heard about the fantasy game before we get started, or anything else you want to mention about Skylar's article while I go and check chat? What's going on?
I think that it is encouraging to hear that there's some higher ups who are interested in growing the game. We've had tons and tons of conversation in Discord about comparing it to how fantasy works in other sports, whether it's obviously the NFL is a huge example of that, and how it grows fandom. It adds more interest, gives people kind of a different connection point to the sport itself and the players. Gives them something to watch, maybe some teams that they wouldn't have watched. And so you can't deny the impact that fantasy has in sports in general. That's a whole other conversation when you talk about betting and fantasy and all that. But ultimately, the NFL has shown that it works, that it's a great marketing tool for the league. So it's just a matter of whether MLS wants to go that route and continue that. And it is encouraging to hear that, but also seeing the column go away. We have heard about layoffs, at MLS recently. Anybody that's been watching the news on that. And so they may just be restructuring and figuring out what they want to do with the league and the game and how to promote it. And I'm sure that the Apple deal and the first year of that and kind of going back through, like looking at, maybe the numbers of what they saw at the, as far as people watching throughout the year. Maybe that's led to conversations internally that we just don't know about. Obviously we could speculate all day long about a lot of this stuff, but ultimately, we have the game. We have the landing page, which is always a plus. And so, we on our side can just provide the content that we think the community needs, and hopefully MLS will pick back up, and we can partner with them to continue to do that into the future of the game.
Absolutely. But as I said, you don't have to worry about content because MLS Fantasy Boss, MLS Fantasy Insider, and just the whole network here, we are committed to having content to help you, even if there are changes going on at MLS. And we're excited to talk about some of the new additions that we have for our content schedule coming up right after this. Okay. So fun tidbit for you all in chat with us right now. That is going to be one of the final mid-episode commercial breaks that you get for a while, because the format of the show is actually something we've been working on. So this is sort of like the swan song for the mid-show break. As I go prep all of this.
Couple requests for you to turn your mic up, Reid.
Up? See, I asked about this at the beginning,
I know,
and no one said anything, and I just rolled with it. No one said it.
anything.
I'm doing what I can, helping the people. Here we go. We'll see what happens.
I can hear you.
You guys got me. How's this now? People talking about the microphone. I'm trying to keep it in the green area and not hit into the reds. So speak now or forever hold your peace.
Sounds good to me.
And you don't. You can keep speaking your piece.
Chase Adams scored like 100 goals today against the Virgin Islands. They won 22-0. The U17s. It's amazing.
That is that's a beat down.
Yeah. How many did he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 goals.
All right, here we go.
At that point, don't you pull him?
It's amazing.
Don't you pull the kid at that point?
All right.
I guess it's World Cup qualifying.
Hello and welcome back to our preseason preview episode. We're talking about the updates to the MLS Fantasy Boss and MLS Fantasy Insider content for 2025. First, the biggest announcement. One of the fellow fantasy sickos who's with me right now on the show. We have a new content master who is joining the MLS Fantasy Boss team, and that is our very own Matt Wojo, right here below me in the Hollywood Squares right here. So Matt, give people a quick update about what you're now doing as a member of the MLS Fantasy Boss team and what they can expect coming up.
Yeah, Master's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, but I appreciate the affirmation there, Reid. So helping out the team. We obviously, with the loss of Skylar's article, kind of got some of us talking about what we potentially could do for the fantasy community. Obviously, we are one of the larger games in town. Thankfully, not the only one, and so kind of got us thinking about what does that mean for our role in that? Where can we step in? Maybe where MLS isn't necessarily focusing so much on the game, and so our team was able to put together some ideas on some weekly content. Hopefully you guys have checked out some of our preseason content. We've already been churning out a few articles, have a bunch more coming out this week in the final week of the preseason. and then we get the season started with episode week preview 1 next week for the pod. And so we just decided that we could step up our game in the content area. Ranch has done a great job kind of carrying that for the past several years, and we wanted to add to it. And so that was kind of the plan for that. And we're going to expand our guests. We're going to expand the types of things we're going to do. Maybe some more engagement opportunities to answer questions throughout the season. We want to help you guys on your fantasy journey as you're playing this game, and share the knowledge of the community and share the knowledge of some of the outstanding players that we have in our MLS community here. So that's kind of the why. And so yeah, what else do we need to cover on that, Reid?
No, I think that captures a lot of it. I mean, some things are going away. Some things are going away to help just make things a bit more streamlined. The player polls, which is been something that was always kind of a fun way for us to kind of pit ourselves against Skylar. Huge lift. Big thanks to Christian for doing a lot of work with that over the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years that we've done that. But we've retired that for some of this new content. So Christian gets a break. And I'm sure he's happy
Not really.
about that.
Not really.
There's other stuff. There's other stuff. A programming break with all of that. But so yeah, we're excited to have some. I don't know if it's really a longer form, but some Q&As with some of the top players. Some of these voices that can just pop in and share some of their advice, not necessarily on the regular, but having some valuable insights from people from our community to work them into a schedule to be able to just to share their thoughts. And so, if you're interested in doing something like that, you can reach out to Wojo right here. Wojo is also helping coordinate guests for the podcast, and so he's doing a huge lift, a big help for me right there as well. So we're excited to have some new voices on the show. We're excited just to have some new content, and so it's going to be great.
Reid, should I tease some of the weekly stuff that's coming out?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so speaking of Christian and his lack of heavy lifting, he is not gone from the lifting side of things, because from what I understand, he will be continuing the weekly rankings that Skylar was doing for MLS. And so we are I'm beyond stoked to see to hear his insight into that each week. And so it will not completely be going away. It will be just in a new place. So check out MLSFantasyBoss.com, and you'll be able to catch him every week doing the rankings. So I'm excited about that. Differentials will continue to be one of our favorites each week as well. Him, Ranch, Tyler Norman, and his team, who like to come up with those off the wall picks that you might not necessarily think of, and see how that goes. We're also going to have a couple more weekly features. One being a like strategy type article, kind of talking about the overall strategy of playing. It's going to be super topical depending on what's going on at what point in the season. So that could be, I'm really interested to see what kind of ideas are come up with, because from what I understand, a lot of them are going to be driven by conversation in the Discord and what people are talking about in the Discord. So if you haven't checked it out, you need to check out our Discord. We'll continue to say that throughout the episode, but that's definitely a great place to just kind of plug into what's being talked about as far as MLS Fantasy. And then also, we're going to be doing a weekly matchups to target article, which is going to talk about players from those matchups, kind of those juicy matchups that you want to look at. Some might be under the radar from what you expect. Some will be obvious, but some might be under the radar. So we're excited about those, as well as the podcast each week, and the live stream that goes along with that will continue. And hopefully some of these guests you guys will enjoy. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And what all that means, though, even though Christian's still doing rankings, far fewer pings are going to be happening on the Discord when I'm no longer being like, fill it out, do the survey. So great stuff right there. One thing I also want to highlight, the format of this show is going to be changing some. We've gotten some feedback. We're doing what we can to try to keep the times in the ranges that we want, though some episodes, like maybe this one, go a little bit longer because we can in those situations. But we get it. Things get busy. You want the good content. And so the main plan for MLS Fantasy Insider going forward is we're going to have 2 main segments of the show. We're going to begin the show, as always, with our fantasy-focused recap of the previous round. So trying to be different from what you would see with just things coming out from MLSsoccer.com, focus on everything, trying to keep it to the fantasy-relevant tidbits that happen. Heavy at the beginning of the year, maybe it gets a little bit shorter at different points of the year, but that's the focus at the beginning. And then the housekeeping section, it's gone. We get it. That was a lot of times to do stuff with the pro rel leagues and various little bits and pieces there. Not always the most interesting for most people. So we're going to ditch the housekeeping section, and that's going to be finding its place more over at MLSFantasyBoss.com, where we're going to have some dedicated website space for our pro rel leagues and how well those players are doing. Maybe some little spot short videos that pop up to help acknowledge those players right there, because you guys are awesome, and we're going to have that content out soon. But the second part of the show is going to be focused on the player target. So that's how the show is going to focus on the fantasy recaps and then the targets going into the round, really keeping it to the bread and butter of what you all want. And then depending on what happens throughout the year, we may reserve the right to bring back a middle segment for some of those focused fantasy discussions, or if we have a really good guest, that middle section would be more for that focused fantasy discussion, which lends itself to maybe being split off from the main podcast as part of what gets published. But as an example, last year we had the Facebook debacle. That would be something where we would probably have a third segment to specifically cover that and talk about those fantasy relevant times. But otherwise, we're going to give you the recap and then the players that we're targeting to really help keep things streamlined with MLS Fantasy Insider. So fun things right there. Matt mentioned Discord, lots of good stuff going on there. And the last bit, I mean, we've got the updates, the 24 stats are out there. Christian's done some good things, getting some depth charts out there that we have. So definitely go and check out the tools section of MLS Fantasy Boss Discord. Chat's picking up right there. The last thing I will notice, you'll also see this on the Discord. This is kind of a blend right there. We are trying to stay connected with where fantasy players are and the platforms that they're using. And this crosses with fan groups and everybody. And so we have expanded some of our content to be able to cross post on both Twitter X and on Blue Sky. And so we have some new content on Discord for Blue Sky specifically. Specifically, we've got some of the curated what are they? What are those little? Oh, and I got it right here. The starter packs. We've got some curated starter packs. If you want to follow some of the teams on there, just get some of the insights with some people who have migrated around. We've got that information there. We've got some of that available on the website. We're hoping to be able to get some API usage to get some of the automation back with maybe some of the team lineups if we can. But we're going to be cross-posting on both of those platforms there. So if you have a preference, then we're trying to have the content there on both platforms. So that's another little update that we have as well. So yeah, we're really excited about the changes that are coming for MLS Fantasy Boss, for MLS Fantasy Insider. The Discord community is growing. It's fantastic. And so thank you for all the feedback that people gave. And we're always open to more feedback that people have. So feel free to hit us up and just let us know what you think, because we think it's going to be a fantastic year, and we are happy to continue getting content that people want to hear and be focused on that. So give us that feedback. Send it to Wojo. He's great with that. That's what he's doing. All right. Well,
I send everything to Wojo.
we do that. It just helps. It just helps right there.
Forward it to you.
So I know this isn't a round one preview, but we still have carved out. There's stuff that's been going on, and we've seen these scrimmages. We've seen just these friendly games. We've seen the transfer talk, the transfer drama. My guys, drama. What's going on? But from all of this, we do still have some early bit of preseason tidbits that we think are important for fantasy managers to know, even before the round one fiascos and team building begins, and we'll be touching on that right after this. All right. Okay. Let's get that's why it's taking me longer to do the posting, because I got both Twitter and Blue Sky open. Blank. And so you all know, too, behind the scenes, we had a new stream starting soon graphic. I put that together. Christian hates it. And so
I do not. I never said
fun.
that.
It's fine. He hates it. He does.
I don't.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun to have a play off the new launch screen.
Literally said wowzers. Okay?
He said wowzers. He said wowzers.
And I also said I believe in you, Reid. I even put a hearty emoji there. Emoji.
Sure. You all know how it is, right?
This is not sarcasm. I meant at all.
All right.
It's a little green though. Gotta say, it's a little bit green.
It's just a landing screen. I mean, I thought it'd be fun, kind of bring it in there, work and take away these faces, and work in the shields that you don't like, and just kind of. Yeah, I used your main logo up at the top. So
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
You're
breaking copyright rules.
Right. He hates it. All right, here we go. All right, welcome back to our final segment, our final third segment for a little while. We're going to be talking about some of the early exciting players that we've seen during this preseason section. I mean, we're going to break down keepers, defenders, midfielders in that breakdown. We're just going to mention the players' names, maybe a quick little bit about why we're trying to keep an eye on these guys. So we're definitely have more to say during our round one preview next Monday when that is coming out. But let's just mention a few names. Mention a few names right now. Seasoned players may want to keep an eye on who they may not know. New players just want to go familiarize themselves with. We'll focus on mostly defenders and midfielders and forwards. That's the bread and butter. But Matt, who are you have a few keepers you think people just need to be aware of?
Yeah, the keeper position looks like it's going to be really, really similar to last season. There's not a whole lot of jobs that are open. Looks like most of the teams have kept their keepers. Can't say the same for midfielders, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But as far as keepers, we have everybody looks back and healthy that I know of. Some spots that are open that are kind of interesting. DC United has a new Korean keeper, Kim Jun Hong. Some pretty impressive numbers in the Korean league. Young guy, 21, but looks like he's going to be the starter there. So while I don't necessarily expect them to be a really great team, they kind of look like they're on a rebuild right now. He might get some save points from lots of shots, but they're always valuable if you're a starter, and so he looks like he's going to be the starter. Then there's a couple of spots from some playoff teams that or playoff line teams in RSL and Houston who have moved on from their keeper. Well, either moved on or have injuries to their keepers. So in Houston, Clark is gone, and Tarbell has been the starter so far this preseason. But they also have Mar, who played for Dallas last year, or played for Dallas for a number of years. Their defense is pretty similar to what it was last season. They lost some in the midfield, but I expect some of those guys to get replaced either in this window or the next. But their defense is pretty similar. I don't think they've lost too many guys from the defense, and they always played pretty well as a compact team with lots of possession. So we'll see how that works without Herrera in the midfield, and Coco Carrasquilla are both gone. So we'll see how that works out. But they've had a good team the past few years, and so I think that's a good opportunity for maybe a cheap keeper, especially early in the season, depending on who wins that matchup. And then RSL, McMath is out for I think like 4 or 5 months. It's ridiculous. And then Beavers left for Europe, I believe. And so there's a couple of guys fighting for that. Is it Stadahar, who played for Orlando for a while, and then Cabral. So whoever ends up with that position is also another opportunity for maybe a cheap keeper on a decent team. So we'll see how good Real Salt Lake is this year. I know they've lost some guys too, so we'll see how that works. But those are really only unless Christian, you can speak into this, unless you know of any more openings across the league. I believe most of the other positions are pretty set, to my knowledge. Am I correct?
Let's see.
Yeah, I think that's most of it. I mean, and overall, as we know from the past years, and you said at the beginning, not a lot of big differences with the points here. Pretty much as long as you're getting a guy who's consistently starting, there's not a huge significant difference between the points that keepers are getting. Of course, you want to get the clean sheets, and all those are just bonuses. But with some of the changes to the game, it's really just is the guy getting the minutes and getting the bonus points that way.
Yeah.
So
you're playing the matchup more than you're playing the keeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'd add there is who's going to start for Portland, Crepeau or Pantemis? And who's going to start for San Diego? Because they signed Cisniega, but Dos Santos, I think, played their last preseason game and he looked pretty dang good. So I don't know.
And if you haven't already, head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com and check out our San Diego FC preview. So we've got Discord insight right there.
Indeed. And then there's John Polskamp, who's going to be starting for Sporting Kansas City, we saw quite a bit of last season and the season before. But he's got the main job now, and I think he's going to be good.
Well,
that's it for keepers.
Yeah, let's hop over to defenders real quick and just checking out guys who you just some names, short explanation if you need to, but just some people to keep an eye on there. Wojo.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at some of the newer, bigger names that came into the league. Baumgartel and Jorgensen are two European players who have a good chance of starting. Baumgartel for St. Louis, they needed an upgrade there, and so hopefully he'll step in and kind of shore up that leaky D. Jorgensen's for Galaxy, I believe. But he played in Europe for a long time, in England for a while, a Danish center back. And so those are a couple of guys. Then there's a few guys on some new teams that are I think are interesting. I always think interesting. There's some new players that are interesting, and Andres Reyes is on San Diego now. He won the title, or he was with New York Red Bull. Got pretty far in the playoffs, and then Dave Romney plays for San Jose now. Tafari plays for LAFC. So, when guys move to new teams, I always think that's interesting because it's always an opportunity for guys to step up where they may not have been getting playing time, or maybe they're in a better situation where the defense plays better. So a lot of these guys weren't playing on great defenses before, but now they are. And so I think those are interesting opportunities that not a lot of people think about. So I think they're worth thinking about.
Christian.
I'm mainly looking at, of course, I'm a Minnesota homer, so I got to shout out Joseph Rosales. He is going to be a terror because he is now classified as a defender, which is where he is playing, left wing back. So I tend to go for wing backs and right backs that are pretty aggressive with my fantasy picks. So in that same vein, Luca Orjano, he should be just amazing. He's going to be playing left wing back as well for Cincinnati. I saw Patty McNair for San Diego during his preseason game. I think, who were they playing? LA? pretty sure they were playing LA or Charlotte, one of the, I can't remember. But he came up for a corner kick and just nailed a header, scored a goal. It was fantastic. So I like a guy like that who can come up. He's a big guy. He's another one of those Europeans that Matt was talking about, experienced as heck, and he's got some decent legs on him. Another guy that I want to shout out finally, and believe me, I've bagged on Kiri Shelton for years. He had one good year, and frankly, he's sucked since. But they put him, Vermees has put him at right back, and I think that is smart, and he's apparently pretty strong there. He's going to be getting the right back starting role over Davis, who is going to be shifting to midfield. So keep an eye on Kiri Shelton. He's been reclassified from a forward to a defender this year in the game. So those are my guys I'm looking at. I mean, there's tons of other guys I'm looking at, but
yeah. Early preseason teases. That's what this is. Preseason teases, and then we'll get into to round one good stuff right there. All right, let's chat midfielders. Always a great source for points last year. Wojo, who are you looking at for some interesting midfielders at the beginning of this preseason?
I think we have to at first talk about some of the losses and transition that's happening in the midfield right now as far as fantasy goes. I don't know if we've just been so spoiled recently, having so many solid, consistent midfielders, point scorers over the last, several years, where you could have, 10 guys you're trying to choose from each week, depending on matchups. But there's just feels like a lot of uncertainty. I mean, we've lost Santi Rodriguez is leaving. Bogusz is leaving, Carrasquilla is leaving, Herrera left. A lot of, we have uncertainty over Evander, uncertainty over Lucho Acosta. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch, at least for the next few months, over the, until the window closes. But I think, for me, I mean, you have the obvious ones, the big names. I think, you probably have a bounce back I would hope you have a bounce back for Heel, guys like that. And then, like I said, I like looking at players that are playing for new teams, Cleach, McGlynn, Atuesta, all proven performers who are going into new roles, especially that Cleach is playing for Atlanta now, and of course, me being a homer there, I'm excited to see for a guy who plays a little bit deeper, having a player like that who creates so many chances, both shot and goal scoring opportunities, is exciting for me to watch. McGlynn looks like he's going to a better situation, and he had a low key really good season last season. So I really want to see what he'll do in that Houston midfield. And then, of course, I've been an Atuesta fan for a while, and so I think Orlando's another good landing spot for him. I also want to see the second seasons of guys. Sometimes when players come into the league, you don't know what to expect, and it takes them a good half season, 6 months to transition into the league. And so I think it's going to be interesting to watch guys like Moranchuk or Goncalves or Pereira, even someone like Hartle, who had a really good season, but this is his really first full year, or second full year, I should say, and then to see what kind of numbers he can put up. Pep Biel is another one from Charlotte who put up some really good numbers at the end of last season. And as Charlotte's kind of even improved their attack, to see how, like, the next step for these guys. And then, of course, again, Atlanta homer, watching Miguel Almiron come back and see what that experience overseas has done for his play is really exciting. So those are some of the things that I'm watching for, is those second year guys who have had a chance to really get bedded in, and then also players playing for new teams.
Christian.
I'm mainly looking at a few new guys as well. Wilfred Zaha for Charlotte, that was a really good piece of business, I thought. He's playing left wing. He's going to start in the left wing for Charlotte. And he's going to make stuff happen. That guy is too talented not to. Played in the Premier League for a long time. Let's see, who else am I looking at? Philip Zinkernagel for, wow, say that 10 times really fast.
No.
Philip Zinkernagel for Chicago is another right winger who is apparently looked great in preseason, scored at least one goal, I think.
Got a couple, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got a couple. And another right winger who we know, but didn't get a lot of minutes, but because Christian Oliveira's status is up in the air, I read today that Oliveira is LAFC rejected initial bids for him today for the move that they're looking at. But his status is up in the air. So it's going to be David Martinez on right wing for LAFC until that's all sorted out. And I have high hopes for that guy. He's very talented. And finally, this is going to probably cause a lot of controversy, but I'm a Marco Reus truther. I think that Marco Reus has the ability to come into that team and not replace Ricky Puig, but you won't even know the difference. I mean, Marco Reus is as big a playmaker as anybody in the league. I mean, think Carlos Heel, think Reynoso, even though he's gone. Think, he's a true 10. He could play anywhere in the front four, but we haven't really seen him at the 10 necessarily yet in a league game, maybe once. And I'm telling you, I've watched that guy in Bundesliga for Borussia Dortmund for years, and he's going to surprise some people. People, LA people are going to go, Marco Reus, he's not Puig, he'll never be Puig, blah, blah, blah. Well, Marco Reus was Puig before Puig was born. Okay. so there. Anyway, that's my speech.
Is he gonna stay? Is he gonna stay fit though, Christian?
He may not stay fit. That's the thing. He's got, but he's never out long term. It's like usually 2 weeks because he's strained something, So yeah, you're gonna have to look for that. I mean, he is getting up. He's like 35. Okay. But there's plenty of people in the league and plenty of people that play soccer professionally around the world who are older than that, who are just, we don't complain about it. You know what I mean? Like he's got enough to make up for that. Okay. And hey, if he does get injured, they always have Diego Fagundes.
Oh, so much. The depth charts. Don't take me there. Let's talk about forwards instead, because that's an interesting one. So, Christian, who are you looking at there? What's some new names?
Well, I mean, I just loved up Royce, and I'm going to love up. I'm also a Christian Ramirez truther for being a Minnesota fan.
Yeah.
He is more talented in his left toe than I think Joveljic ever was. Just an opinion. So yeah, Ramirez is gonna light the world on fire this year, and he is gonna play center forward. Believe it or not, I could see Vanny shifting him out right if honestly. So now Painsel's injured, right? He's gonna be out 6 to 8 weeks. I could see Peck going to the left, Ramirez going to the right wing, and I have Barry up top.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I mean, I'm looking at the depth chart right now. Royce could even go over there, but that would leave a gaping hole in midfield. I think they'll manage. They have enough firepower to deal with it. I don't know. Anyway, Ramirez. Okay, so I'm also very, very interested in whoever the Columbus Crew signed to replace Cucho Hernandez.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that player would be subpar in any way, shape, or form. I cannot imagine that they would replace Cucho with someone who is not top notch. So I'm not sure who they're looking at. I glanced at something, a rumor, but yeah, I mean, guys, expect a huge splash with this signing. Seriously. And finally, I'm looking at Patrick Agyemang from Charlotte. I think that a full season of BL, like Matt said, and how they're looking in preseason, they're looking sharp, they're looking clean, they look good in possession, they look good in transition. Their defense is always solid, so they're going to get opportunities to score. And Agyemang, I mean, there are European clubs looking for him, looking at him, and Charlotte's rejecting bids for him. Okay, so he's quality. We've known he's quality. He's like one of those guys that's growing into the position, into that lead striker role. He's got it now. He's earned it now. And I'm looking at some good, like I've got high hopes for old Patrick there. Put it that way.
I like him a lot. I think especially the goals that he scored for the national team will boost his confidence massively.
Absolutely.
Do need him to shoot a little bit more for fantasy purposes, but
I mean, sure, but
as long as he's putting them away.
Yeah, put him on target. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Who else you have, Matt?
Again, I'm sticking with some of these guys that I really want to see for their new teams. I mean, there's the obvious ones. Obviously, we don't know how they're going to be classified, but I mean, our speculation is that the San Diego forwards their lines are going to be pretty much all forwards. It could be different, but Lozano and Dreyer and is it Ingvardsson? I think well, he's obviously a forward, but the wingers could be classified as forwards as well. So we'll talk about him here. I mean, on paper, that's a pretty exciting front line. If I'm a San Diego fan, I'm pretty stoked about.
They looked really good too.
Yeah, about the potential there. There's a lot of quality. They seem to be shopping in the right spots for him, and I think you got a couple of Danes, so hopefully there's some built-in chemistry through that. We got a couple of really big money guys too. Denke for Cincinnati and Ladaloth for Atlanta. I mean, incredible amounts of money. So there's going to be a lot of expectation on these guys. I'm hoping that talent comes through because, the better the forwards are, the more goals, the better it is for the league, not just those teams. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully the expectation matches the reality in those situations. Vasquez is back, so will he perform like he did in Cincinnati? I mean, that's one that I think the pedigree's there. So it's just a matter of him putting it together, and hopefully Austin takes that step forward a little bit more from where they were last year. And then a couple of guys on new teams. Christian, you mentioned Joveljic in Kansas City. He was great in LA, and so I'm hoping Kansas City takes a step forward with some of their new players, and he's able to help them with that. Ferreira, I think he needed maybe some new surroundings, and so I think Seattle is a great place for that. Surrounded with talent. Doesn't have to necessarily take like a leadership role. He can just kind of be a part of the attack. and he's super talented. So I think that new start for him will be nice. And then I really like Campana in New England. I think Heel's going to give him a ton of balls to put away, and he's proven that he can do it in limited minutes in Miami. And so I think, I don't know how we'll see how New England turns out this year. They had a rough year last year, but can't be worse, right? So, Brioni did pretty well, and I was actually at the Atlanta New England game last year, and like Vrioni just got chance after chance. He only buried a couple of them, but he had chance after chance. Like that team will still be able to create. Hopefully, some of those new guys will be able to step in to those creative spots, and I believe in Campana's finishing ability. So I think it'll be interesting now that hopefully he'll get enough minutes to make it worthwhile.
Well, thanks for that. Quick bit of insight about those players. The last thing we want to end on tonight, just a little bit of an insight from Christian, because not only have we had players added to the league, players transfer to other teams to the league, but we've seen position changes as well with part of that. So Christian's got a link that we'll post later on the site, but give us some insights into this, Christian.
All right, so I'll make this as quick as I can. Every year we do positional changes. Some players do positional changes. I'm going to highlight the ones. I mean, there are several of them. Pay attention to them. I highlighted a few that might make a difference in your calculus when you're making picks, at least to start the season. Probably the most significant one. This isn't a positional change, but it's an actual positional change. Christian Espinoza they have a new coach. Christian Espinoza is pretty much going to be a right wing back for San Jose instead of a right winger who, as we've seen year after year, just trots on down the touch line and crosses the ball in from the end line and takes penalties and free kicks, right? So he's a pretty important player for fantasy, but I don't know. Hernan Lopez is slated. I mean, like his future with the club is up in the air. So Espinoza's positional fate, shall we say, is in part tied to Hernan Lopez's fate. And whether or not Bruce Arena sticks with that whack three at the back with two wingbacks formation that he's playing. I mean, it's not whack because a lot of teams are going toward it, but it's just not Bruce Arena. I didn't even think he was capable of playing three at the back. But anyway, so some other ones. So there are a whole ton of players. There's 24 at least that I noted here. There's at least probably 30 players that switched from being a forward to a midfielder for 2025 fantasy. I'm only going to name a few of them that are like fantasy viable. Banji Hlongwane plays for Minnesota. We know him as a right winger and or a forward. He is now a midfielder in the game. You will see him at right wing back in the 5-4-1. Now, you might say, okay, that's whack, but guess what? Banji Hlongwane scored, I think, a hat trick 2 days ago in preseason, playing right wing back. So, just saying, the guy's going to go up and down the field. He's got like Energizer batteries or something. Federico Bernardeschi, exactly in the same mold. He is now a midfielder classification. He will be playing right wing back. You might see him with formation changes at right wing or forward, but that's going to impact a lot of people's calculus. Lorenzo Insigne, same thing. He was a forward who played like attacking mid. He is now an attacking mid and classified as a mid properly. Anthony, now a midfielder, right wing. He's on the right wing. Arfsen, for Columbus. This is weird because Nancy likes to play 2 attacking midfielders and lets his wing backs go forward. Arvson used to play left wing, I think, for a while last year with all the injuries. But I've got him at left attacking mid, and I'm not even sure he's going to start, to be honest. Ivan Angulo, midfielder now, used to be a forward. Paul Arriola, you're going to want to pay attention to this one. He is now a midfielder. He used to be a forward. He's going to be the starting left wing back, I think, for Seattle. A lot of teams switching to these wing backs rather than full backs, playing 3 center backs this season. Shallowy, left wing. It used to be a forward, now a mid. Afrifa is going to be starting for Kansas City as well. On the right, he is now a mid, was a forward. Aliu, same thing, now a mid. Kevin Cabral, now a mid. Lassiter, now a mid. Okay. Now, the rest of these, I'm not going to talk about. There's plenty of them that'll shock you. Anyway, the most shocking one in this list is Martin Ojeda, supposedly classified as a forward now. He's going to be the center attacking mid, the number 10 for Orlando, and he's classified as a forward. I might write a letter to Skylar. Anyway, Krylock is now a forward. He was a mid. And Shakur Mohammed for Orlando. Those are the only 3. Mid to defender, this is important. Because there were a lot of times I wanted to pick Joseph Rosales as a defender. He's a defender now. So yay. Ali Ahmed for Vancouver. Jasper Loffelson will start at right back for San Diego. He's now a defender. Will Sands, Reid Baker Whiting. Carlos Harvey's interesting because he's now been classified as a defender because he started at center back for Minnesota because of injuries. He's going to be a midfielder, a backup midfielder. And I doubt that he's going to actually start many games. Here's an important one. Akil Watts will be the starting left back, I'm predicting, for St. Louis. He was a left wing. He can play left wing, but he will be their starting left back, and he is now classified as a defender. Cam Harper, really popular pick last year, is now a midfielder. Was a defender, now a midfielder. So that's going to hurt some people. Sean Zawatsky also got classified as a midfielder because he's going to be playing defensive midfielder, probably filling in at center back if there are a ton of injuries. Emeka Anelli, that was a very popular pick. It's now classified as a mid. He will be playing center defensive mid. There are no defenders to forward shifts, but like I mentioned earlier, Curry Shelton was a forward. He is now classified as a defender, will be the starting right back for Sporting Kansas City. And keep an eye on him because I think he's going to do well there as a defender with the scoring for defenders. All right. So that's it. That's what I've got. There's plenty more. Someone posted in the Discord. I think George posted in the Discord his exhaustive list of these positional changes and team changes in a spreadsheet. If you go into the general chat and see that, I don't have a pin, but I'll find it and pin it. Also, don't forget, we are maintaining the depth charts. If you guys see the depth charts for your team and you think, no, Christian, you're wrong, just direct message me. It helps if you give me what your idea of the depth chart looks like. Do your own depth chart, DM me, and I will absolutely make the changes if I don't like argue with you at length first. Okay.
which you may do. Lucky you.
Yeah, probably gonna happen.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for putting together that content. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight to kick off the fantasy season officially for MLS Fantasy Boss. I know we've been having the content coming out, but it's great to be back with the podcast. Great to interact with people in chat right now. Please do share this link. Just let people know that it's come back. Would love to have a lot of people join us for our first live stream for the round 1 preview that we have coming up. It's going to be great. We've got more articles coming up to MLSFantasyBoss.com. A lot of great things coming in. So let's wrap things up, as always, with our plugs. Matt.
MLSFantasyBoss.com. That's where we're landing it. All of the content that we've been talking about. We'll continue to be putting that out. We'll continue to be doing some more engagement on socials. So keep an eye out for those the weekly columns, and as well as some of the one-off projects that we'll have out throughout the season. So MLSFantasyBoss.com.
Christian.
The MLS Fantasy Boss community Discord server.
There we go. Mouthful.
I didn't stick the landing.
That's good. Oh, you did it.
7.
Worked.
You got a 7.
We work. We like it. Yeah. Well, I guess that just leaves me to plug the Pro Rel League. We've got that coming back up. So I know I've gotten some messages. Thank you so much. I sent some emails out yesterday. It's been a lot of work trying to get it all put together. The site is not great for exporting information like that. Have the first 2 leagues, the Champions League and the Veterans League, confirmed with who is up and who is down, and those rosters filled up. Working to confirm the last 2 leagues so I can start sending out the email confirmations. Be on the lookout for that within the next day or 2, at least for those first 2 leagues, to let you know that you have a spot in the league and if you still plan on returning. And then we'll see what's left. Trying to get that out as quick as I can so we can get new people in. Prioritizing people who I have on the wait list and people in the patrons. So patrons do get some heads up for this and first chances there. I need your emails. That's what happened this year is people changed their team names, which is fine. But at the end, it was hard for me to match up emails and players with team names, and it's been a beast. So since the new game's out, if you don't remember, I'm doing my best to try to get everybody who I can informed and back in. So if you don't get back in, I'm so sorry, but I am making efforts to do that. So we have the Pro Rel coming back. It's going to be great. Check out patreon.com. The next few days, we'll get that updated once I get all the Pro Rel stuff sorted out, and it's going to be good. So for the first time this year, as always, good luck.